Two middle lanes are blocked. Delays are backing up out of Studio City, leaving Laurel Canyon Boulevard. Hollywood on that southbound side of the 101. Delays from Santa Monica Boulevard into downtown Los Angeles and Mid-City on the 10. Westbound before National. They've just cleared a crash to the shoulder, but the traffic's
what up?
away from Robertson. Anaheim, 91 eastbound. Delays from Clark LaSalle all the way to
I had to bring up some old school you ain't never heard of before.
Loading up from just past the Windy Ridge Toll Plaza
Andy.
to the 91.
I said I had to bring some old school you never heard of before. That first record on the playlist, that's some old school you ain't never heard of before. I had to hip you to some game.
From slavery and segregation to the Great Migration to our present-day rising, the Black experience in America is a story of resilience, achievement, and unstoppable spirit. This February, we're curating amazing conversations celebrating the heroes, the pioneers.
That's one of
made history.
That's one of
On KBLA Talk 1580.
That's one of Eminem's inspirations.
Torch forward.
Hey, so I'm calling your show, 'cause I need to know. Show me which way to go before I throw my man out the door.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yo, what up?
Let me ask Ronald exactly what's going on, because it takes two to tango, and I need to hear his side of the story.
So she's driving me insane, got stress heavy on my brain. She keeps playing silly games, and I'm about to bring the pain. We seem to fuss and fight every day and every night. Please give some advice so we can see the light. See the light. Well, welcome to another Friday night. We've been doing a series on how some of the coping styles that we develop as children because of needing to survive complex trauma actually end up becoming prisons for us. And what happens in adult life is we realize it's a destructive prison. It's hurting ourselves, it's hurting others, and part of our brain wants to get out of it, and part of our brain resists getting out of it because it's their default setting, it's their normal, they know what to do there. And so it's set up all kinds of systems to keep us stuck there. And so a big part of recovery is understanding what these prisons are and then beginning to learn how to change them and get out of them. What I really want you to understand as we do this series is not about shaming people and saying you're bad for being stuck in a prison. You didn't begin the process that got you in a prison. Somebody in authority who abused their authority and ended up abusing you or neglecting you is the one that made it necessary for you to develop these survival coping skills. They started the process, but it's you who's keeping the process going today. And it's you who is the only one who can change the process and get out of the patterns. The responsibility to change is now on you. So you didn't start the process, but you're the only one who can end it. You're the only one who can learn the tools needed to stop it, the tools needed to have better ways of coping, and that's what this series is all about. And so tonight, I want to talk about what for many has become a prison, and that is not trusting anybody, mistrust. And so a child who is repeatedly betrayed by their parents, lied to their parents weren't there for them to meet their needs, their parents were inconsistent in meeting their needs, their parents who broke promises, who kept secrets. How does that affect a child? It erodes trust over time repeatedly and brings a child to a point where they conclude it is not safe to trust anybody. If you trust people, you get hurt. Therefore, they develop a logic. As they go into adult life, it says it's better to only trust yourself, to not trust anybody, so they do that. But then what happens is they can't have intimate relationships, because intimate relationships need trust, and you need to be able to trust others. And they have all the problems that come out of not trusting somebody else. And so all their intimate relationships are messed up. But then they can't even trust themselves. And so they hurt themselves. And they have a default setting that says, I know how to deal with untrustworthy people, so they're drawn to untrustworthy people. And so then they have all the emotions that come from not being able to connect, not being able to be authentic. And so there's a loneliness and an...
Ooh, the brother was straight flame throwing. And the only thing I disagree with, you don't attract untrustworthy people. No. You attract what everyone attracts, and that's works in progress. Yeah, there are no perfect people. Do you understand? There are no fully assembled, ready to go and be perfect in a relationship kind of person. That doesn't exist, okay? So there are no perfect people. So we have to be careful of how we frame that. Like, oh, you attract an untrustworthy person. No, you attracted a person who is a work in progress, who's probably vibrating on the same consciousness level that you're vibrating on. Whatever is healed or unhealed within yourself, they're probably mirroring that work as well. So it's not about attracting someone who is untrustworthy. It's about attracting someone who is at the same level that you're at, which is why you hear me say you get who you are. Many years ago, I recontextualized a famous quote from Maya Angelou. You know, of course, Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them. And I also, understanding the mirror of relationship concept, recontextualize that piece by saying when someone shows you who you are, you should believe them as well. And maybe a lot of people was like, oh, you know, don't touch Maya Angelou's work, or I don't necessarily agree with that. Yeah, the part where when they show you who you are, it's really hard to swallow, because many people think they are better than they actually are. Many people think they are more than they actually are. Many people think they're more evolved, more understanding, more caring, more nurturing than they actually are. If we're going to have a conversation, we got to tell the truth, right? And as the man was breaking down in the clip, all of this stuff is coming from early childhood experiences once again. And if your parental deities mishandled you, it's almost like it can't be undone until you go back and undo it. because the natural proclivity is to run into a relationship hoping that someone will give you what they weren't able to give or refused to give, right? And when you don't get it, or when you get some of it and then it's taken away, you start to feel like, wow, the original sin or the original hurt happens all over again. And you may not know this consciously, but that's what it is. You're looking for a partner that won't let you down like your parent did. Do you see the enormity of that expectation? It's heavy, right? Which leads us to our understanding of tonight's topic. See, many people, and most of us have been through something. Most of us have, come from some type of dysfunctional experience in our early childhood. So there is the seed of fear, right? Fear that you might not be accepted, fear that you're not worthy enough, fear that you are somehow defective, fear that, once you get comfortable and settled with somebody, they're going to leave you, fear of abandonment, right? It's some type of fear in us. But tonight's topic is going to challenge a lot of that. You can't be obedient and paranoid. Answering the call of relationship, real versus imagined threats. Are you a relational hypochondriac? See, when you get hurt, fear, the seed of fear is already planted. I do not want to go through or become re-traumatized by what I've already been through. I'm trying to get the opposite of what initially hurt me, right? How many people give up on relationships because the hurt has just, the constant, ringing of the bell, just when you think it's all good, bam, it happens again. Oh my God, I thought this one was the one. Oh my God, everything was good until, right? Are you a relational hypochondriac? Real versus imagined threats in modern relationships. How do unhealed traumas and attachment anxieties transform benign interactions into perceived betrayals? Listen, we can't even get over cheating. Do you know how benign cheating is? I know this is controversial. It's a controversial take. We can't get over cheating, right? See, if you were raised in an environment where your primary caregiver made you feel like you weren't enough, and you carry that I'm not enough concept into self-concept into adult relationships, and somebody cheats on you, that sense of I'm not enough, and they went out and found the supplement by cheating on, do you see where I'm going with this? Right? We can't even look at it from and I'm not an advocate of cheating. I've cheated. I've been cheated on. I'm not an advocate of it. But what I'm saying is you're dealing with human beings. And I think it's erroneous to think that one human being forever can fulfill your needs, all of your needs, all the time, and you not find something monotonous or redundant or whatever, right, about it. Especially in today's culture, right? The way our minds are set up. Do you understand? Cheating, and what I'm really saying is cheating or stepping out on your partner is something that should be forgivable. It's something that can be worked on. But if you're carrying this I'm not enough narrative, it's over, right? You can never come back from it. Do you see? How do unhealed traumas and attachment anxieties transform benign interactions into perceived betrayals? And we didn't get to the cheating part. We're talking about perceived betrayals. Empirical studies in relationship OCD and attachment theory reveal that when past wounds remain unintegrated, our internal alarm systems misinterpret neutrality as danger, fueling a cycle of self-imposed relational paranoia. Where you going? Where you been? Who you been with? Who you been talking to? Huh? Which do you want? Obedience or liberation? How fear-based compliance erodes authentic connection. Fear-based compliance, well, I better act right or I'm going to lose them. Well, I better do things that I myself wouldn't choose to do, had I not been in this relationship with this person. So let me just acquiesce. Obedience or liberation. How fear-based compliance erodes authentic connections. Does our conditioned need to obey societal or relational norms mask a deeper fear that stifles intuitive wisdom? Drawing on cognitive behavior research and metaphysical insights from Krishnamurti, this topic challenges the assumption that strict adherence to external rules ensures safety, suggesting instead that it may imprison us in a cycle of reactive mistrust. Your partner can't behave good enough to put out the fire of unintegrated wounds. That damn fire is going to burn whether they act right or not. Right? You're going to be hyper vigilant. You're going to find slights. This is what Dr. David R. Hawking calls the slight collector. You're going to look for slights. And remember, whatever the thinker thinks, the prover will prove. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You're going to look for things when they're not there. And if there is a illusory form of fear, aka anxiety, that means you will find things that aren't there to satiate anxiety's hunger. The toxic allure of predictability is clinging to comfort, a recipe for emotional paralysis. Woo. Can the desperate need for predictable environments trigger toxic emotional patterns that ultimately undermine growth? Listen, I'm the voice of reason, and we having a real conversation tonight. Are you scared? We're going to find out when we come forward. I'm kind of turned up tonight. Is it me? Everybody call in. Let's go. Y'all like the LA hat? What color is it? Y'all tell me the color. Can you guess the color? What color is the hat? I'm seeing silver, gray. Come on, Sugar Crisp. Man, thank you, Sugar Crisp. Somebody said beige, gold, champagne, beige, off-white, cream. Cream, get the money. Hey, I bought it today because The salesman said, bone. I said, what color is that? He said, bone. I said, give it. Come on. Bone? He said, bone. I said, come on. Everybody hit the like button, 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 share it, like it, subscribe. Share it, like it, subscribe. And just like Sugar Crisp just did, hey man, if you guys want to support the channel, please, please, please hit the super chat button, or my personal favorite, go to my Cash App. Show your love on my Cash App. I'd appreciate it. Hey, Renee Hernandez, thank you. Please support. We need it. It's been a slow February. It really has. So, and this is Attila's topic. It was Attila's topic yesterday. But I need y'all to call in. Come on, y'all. Let's get in here. I don't know, Attila. Some positive brothers that can join it and come along. Black is back.
Together stop the whole movement of escape. It is not an action of will or determination, but verbally take their vow never to escape, but actually deeply not avoiding that thing. So that the memory of the past pleasures, companionship, all that has no longer a place, and so we can remain with that thing called pain completely whole. Means, are we meeting, we are thinking together? I hope. That is, my son is dead. I love him.
Listen, I love him to death. That's why I gotta play him. I love him to death. He made sense to me, man. Listen, we've made comfort, predictability, right? Our poison and prison of choice when it comes to relationship. Do you understand? We've made comfort and predictability our preferred poison of choice. Is clinging to comfort a recipe for emotional paralysis? See, it starts in childhood. Okay, I got hurt. I got wounded. I wasn't given what I needed. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. That becomes the norm, right? That's a pattern. See, you can't be comfortable where there is no pattern. Where there is a pattern, there is attachment. Where there is attachment, there is suffering. Do you see? So now what we've done is we say, okay, what we didn't get must come from a partner. Now, if I can get my partner to capitulate to my unintegrated wounds through my subtle control, right? I'm going to put my nurturing and my compassion and my sex and my money and my attention on an IV drip based on their capitulations, right? Do you see what's happening? So many people are afraid to relate because to relate is to be able to see oneself and another as they are. That's relationship. That is the mirror of relationship. But you can't see you fully until you accept you fully. So the whole relationship is a game of manipulation. Can the desperate need for predictable environments trigger toxic emotional patterns that ultimately undermine your growth? Well, this is what I know, so I'm going to stay with that. Yeah, this guy reminds me of my dad. My dad was a good person, but yet toxic. And guess what? You know what? I didn't get it all from him, so maybe I'll get the rest of it from this guy. And this is why we're through relationships, unless we can get what we can manipulate out of others. I know people don't want to hear it. Neuroscientific research indicates that over-reliance on stability creates a fragile psychological framework where any deviation is interpreted as catastrophic, reinforcing fear-based behaviors and stifling innovation in relationships. I got a lot to talk about because y'all too damn scared to love. And then you got the nerve to say it don't exist. Debate me when we come forward. Woo! Hey, that Lakim Shabazz. A lot of people don't know. Lakim Shabazz is one of Eminem's inspirations. Lakim Shabazz, Flavor Unit, Mark the 45 King. That was Latifah. That was, of course, Naughty by Nature. Those guys, man. The Flavor Unit. Of course, that was Chill Rob G. No, we haven't had a call in yet. I don't think so. What you got for me? Relationship quitting. I know. I'm explaining it tonight. Everybody, please go to my Cash App. Your brother needs your support tonight. Please support your brother. Yes, you can do it on Super Chat, like like Sugar Chris did, or you could go directly to my Cash App. My Cash App is $ so what netter. Moderators, please post it, post it, post it. Okay. Let's like it. Let's share it. Let's get everybody involved. We got 4 minutes. Shallow 210. With a name like Shallow, your comment makes all the sense in the world. Ah! Don't do it, Oz. Hey. People know my little get them. Exactly. That BT freestyle pisses me off to this day by Eminem, fake ass and zippity bars. Eminem is one of the greatest ever. He's one of the greatest ever. You got to give him his props. I mean, just skill wise, skills is crazy. You know, skills is just nuts. The way he puts words together, the way he builds rhyme, construct rhyme. I mean, there's no way. There's no way you can undermine him. And then when you take like for instance, when people talk about Kobe Bryant, I separate them into two groups. You got fat white guys who never played the game, who try to say he's not one of the greatest, he's not top 5, and you go, "Wow, you're obese and you never played the game. You're not even an athlete, like, and you're a sports commentator. You got to sit down and be quiet." So then when you start hearing the guys who played with Kobe and they go, "I played with Kobe, I played with LeBron, I played with MJ, and Kobe and MJ are like this. This is why we say Kobe's one of the greatest. We played them, all three of them." So I tend to listen to the people who have that direct experience. So when people talk about Eminem, same thing. If you got Rakim saying, "Yo, that white kid is one of the greatest MCs to ever live." If the God MC, who we revere as the God MC, right? If Rakim Allah is Rakim Allah and we respect him as such, and he goes, "Nah, that kid." And Rakim is not listening from records. Now he's a white guy rapping about white content. Rakim is listening, right, from a skill set perspective. He's like, "Wait a minute. Do you see the way he puts those rhymes together? Do you see how metronomic his cadence is? How he blends in with the beat in between the snare and the hi-hat and the kick? He's never off beat." Like, so as an MC, and you have to understand, I used to be an MC. I produce rap records. I sign rap artists. So it's, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's about having a direct experience versus just an opinion about it. You know what I mean?
Yo, Troy, man, look on the track, man. What's up? Yo, it's just a little something. in the basement, man.
That's like, man, I wonder what King Son and VRT would sound like on this together, man.
Yeah, I wonder.
We have a duty, and our duty is to teach and civilize the power of sun forms a culture of wise.
Intelligent beings. When it comes to MCing, 3 wise men are friends.
Poor but righteous teachers who can't afford to live like kings of the sun with the death sword. Some claim to be a right, even being right, but we don't see a light. You strike out. Even though you're a hit to the mentally dead, let it be said, the gods are taking heads.
Yo, go to freedom. You seen the snake shed? Get on the mic and take the snake's head.
It's my supreme communication, intellectual elevation, and this is what it takes for me to generate my nation, cause the proper education.
So, red flags, right? This is the conversation. What are the 5 red flags? Tell me the red flags. Maybe that's the tricky bit, is we keep looking for red flags, and maybe that's not the way to do it. Maybe it's time to stop looking for red flags. So what are you supposed to do instead? So instead of looking for red flags, what can you do? How about you pay attention to how you feel? Now, I know we've taken on this topic in many different ways on this channel, but I can't put too fine a point on it. And I think it gives you a connection to yourself that can really be a very useful tool for you for discernment. Listen, I see the TikToks and the Instagram posts and the other videos and the news articles. 5 top red flags, 10 flags you need to know, 6 flags to identify you're in a relationship with a narcissist, this list, that list. Listen, for most of us, if someone did these red flag things within the first few weeks of a relationship, many of us would run away. But red flags don't tend to work that way. They tend to be subtle. They tend to be a very light pink that slowly turns to red. They take a minute to unfold. They may be nonverbal, and they tend to be peppered in to what feels like a relationship that's nice in some ways. Red flags are specifically tend to refer to the beginning of a relationship or a turn in the road of a relationship. Exactly at a time when it's about love bombing and idealization and seduction and excitement and feeling good. So the red flags tend to get peppered in there with the good stuff, and they aren't the only prevailing state, which is why love bombing is so confusing, because there's maybe a few pinkish or reddish red flags popping up, and the good stuff pushes us to justify or rationalize, because especially in those early days, at a minimum, lots of people want the relationship to keep going. So, what else can we do about staying on top of some of these earlier signs that a relationship may not be healthy? Why don't we try a little bit of somatic awareness? I don't even call this intuition, though you may experience it that way. But it's something that you might feel in your body, the proverbial hairs that stand up on the back of your neck. But it may not just be that. It may be a discomfort in your stomach, a tightness in your chest, a constriction of your throat, a discomfort that you just can't name and that you try to shake off. Just about any survivor of narcissistic abuse will think back to that time. Just do that for a minute right now. Think of one of the more impactful adult narcissistic relationships in your life. I mean, even a childhood one, if that's what works, but this tends to make a little bit more sense in adult relationships. Close your eyes. Think about as you started to feel more aware in this relationship that something wasn't right. How did you feel it physically? How did you talk to yourself about that feeling? Most of us don't give enough credence to these feelings. We may want to write them off to butterflies in our stomachs or fear or anxiety rather than, my body is telling me something isn't right here. I need to slow down. And of course, there might be all kinds of structural factors that are operating. You may feel pressured to make a relationship work, or you may like some things about this person, or you may feel an obligation to stick it out. So you may just push away these feelings or even pathologize them. Oh, I'm so paranoid. I need to stop this. But
Dr. Romani never plays any games. But as I'm listening to her deeply and intently, I begin to question. A frightening question begins to emerge from my subconscious self. Does trauma recast love as the devil in our spirit? Unhealed trauma, childhood trauma, negative experiences. Because what I'm starting to realize is, man, when real love shows up, if your norm is toxic, is broken, is wounded, that's all you know. That's all that makes sense. That's your home base. This is why so many people run back to their normal. Love seems foreign and dangerous. Doesn't even exist for many people. Do you see? Love becomes the problem because we never really had it when we were supposed to have it in those formative years. Right? Have you heard people say some of the highest levels of consciousness seem weak? Like caring, like forgiveness, nurturing, empathy. It seems gratitude seems weak. That's how you know you're living in toxicity, right? This is why most people would say, which would you rather be? Loved or respected? A lot of people say respected. Respect. Revered. Most people want to be feared, right? So that they don't have to feel fear. Oh, people don't want to be loved. They don't even know what it means. From fear to authenticity, can radical self-inquiry dismantle paranoia in relationships? Right? Does deliberate shadow work and mindfulness help us transcend the self-imposed barriers of fear, combining clinical insights from relationship anxiety research with the meditative teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh and Pema Chodron? This theme explores how confronting our inner demons can convert destructive paranoia into a foundation for profound, genuine intimacy. Did you know love has no rules? But every relationship got a damn plan. And if things don't go to plan, somehow this ain't the right person. If the person shows up as a flawed human being and makes mistakes, somehow they're worthy of discard. Somehow they're worthy of being downgraded, marginalized, and compared to someone that you feel you deserve. When we come forward, I'm going to go to the phone lines. People want to talk about it. D. Markham, what's the solution? I'm going to tell you right now, no disrespect to you, D. Markham. I think it's a fair question, but that is a problem. I was having a conversation, and I really want you to listen to what I'm about to say, D. Markham. We live in a society, right, where we have been conditioned to ask that damn question. You say, what's wrong with asking the question? What's the solution? You got to fucking develop the solution. Our educational system is based on fucking feeding you the problem and the answer. You've never been taught to fucking cultivate your own fucking answers. So when anytime somebody brings up the problem, everybody always defaults to their conditioning. What's the solution? What is it? Because in relationship, a solution for me may not be a solution for you. Self-work creates self-based answers. See, I can fucking inspire you to do self-work. No. I'm not saying it's a great question, D, and it has to be addressed, even if it's not on the topic that you were having. But it's a great question. I was talking to somebody the other day. What's the solution? I said, go inside. Go find your solution. Go get your solution. Especially in intimate relationships, you're cultivating it. The solution of you. The solution of you as authored by you. Right? This is why Krishnamurti said, hey, either we're doing this together or we're not doing it at all. The speaker is not important. Do you see? The speaker is not important. Either we're doing this together or we're not doing it at all, or we're not doing anything. Does that make sense? 20 seconds. So D. Markham, I'm not coming at you. I'm saying your question, the powerful question. MC Grand Boom coming through all the residue. Take it back to the bottom. Not too fat, not too bony. She's gotta have it. Who's behind this ball? Back chipper. They probably did the show with the Copa. I'll be paid like Oprah. I'll just say like God, and I'm saying bye.
Hey guys, I'm Heidi Preeb. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. Today on this channel, we're talking about a topic that I am very excited about. And this is the topic of how to build self-trust. I believe that self-trust is at the absolute core of any sort of healing work. Until we believe that we can trust ourselves to do what we said we would do and to show up for ourselves in a way that is going to make our lives healthier, happier, more expansive, it's going to be really difficult to get any hard self-work done. And so I believe that fostering self-trust needs to be a foundational piece of the attachment healing.
Pause. And I hope I can go back to her. Do you know men love women who haven't done any of this work? I'm about to give y'all some game. Unhealed men love women that are unhealed. Do you know why? Did you hear what this lady just said? Listen, if she doesn't do any of that work, she is a prime dependent All you got to do is have your ish in order financially. That's it. And men who haven't done any self-work will be controllers and performers and payers. I'll pay for that. Well, she needs this, she needs that. Da, 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 da. Well, okay. What's wrong, baby? How can I help? Do you see the game? I just needed somebody to take the pressure off. And here he is. And it pours into his false sense of self, false sense of masculinity. He doesn't have to do any internal work. Are you guys paying attention? See, for men and women, when you go in and you say anything that I modeled in childhood is on trial. It's on trial. Right? Anything that was negative, maladaptive, insecure, dysfunctional, abusive, anything controlling, anything that was a byproduct of gaslighting or manipulation, everything, it's all on trial. And I am the only Supreme Court justice of my own spirit. When you start to put those things on trial, things that happen to you, experiences that happen to you, and you pick up the pen, like I call it, self-authorship, you start to put fear on trial. Where there is fear, there will be control. Where there is control, there will be attachment. Where there is attachment, there will be addiction. Do you see? You start to put the whole chain on trial. Because nobody ever taught you this, and many people continuously go through it and through it and through it. You know what happens? You get to an age where you go, you know what? To hell with relationships. I'm through with it. I've had enough. You gotta put what made you on trial. Attila, Houston, Texas is in the building. Attila, what are your thoughts?
Child, listen, we in here cutting up in this chat. So there's so many good comments. There was one in particular, I think it was your nephew saying something along the lines of devils. But to me, I'm like, you are your own devil. So in this case, when we're talking about imagined versus real threats, you are projecting that. Like, that is all you. It's all in your mind, whether it's real or not. Either way, I'm like, what's the lesson in it?
Right.
So, right? So I think we spend so much time trying to identify, search, and source out something that's external, when really it's already within you. It's your inner conflict that you're seeing play out in front of you through someone else, right? And so in regards to being a relational hypochondriac, I certainly relate to that, because sometimes my anxiety is on the 10. And I will find myself having whole dialogues about events that have not happened. So I say all that to say that if you're not observing, if you're not thinking about what you're thinking about, then this is very, very likely to happen to you. Right. You're very likely to have a certain disposition where it's kind of, how do I say, like, you feel like it's you against the world kind of thing, because you've been hurt so much. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, in that case, Dr. Ramani's advice was sound. I will say the only thing I probably disagreed with was when she was talking about your feelings because of the CPTSD. Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm going through CPTSD, I can't trust myself in those moments. That's like having like OCD or bipolar disorder or something like that, and telling that person that they can trust their feelings. Personally,
I don't feel like I've been able to trust my feelings when I'm emotionally dysregulated. And that's kind of the piece right there I think you were getting at.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got emotional dysregulation, but then the other side of that is, what if you're spiritually dysregulated?
Ooh, now that's a whole nother piece. Wait, oh. Come on, I'm listening. Come on.
Well, you get what I'm saying? Okay, so emotional dysregulation, meaning that I'm unable to use my emotional intelligence to rightly think out a situation, to rightly resolve conflict. Or like Dee said, what's the solution? So I feel like if I'm spiritually dysregulated, I do the same exact thing. I'm looking for a solution, but to a deeper problem that lies within me. It's a spiritual issue, but I'm trying to solve it externally.
So let me create just a little distinction here, and most people don't understand it here. Spiritual work is about being.
Yes.
Clinical work is about doing. Right? Do this. Don't do that. Do you see yourself doing this? Do you see yourself acting this way? Do you see yourself thinking this way? Do this instead. Do you see? Spirit work is being, meaning. And the clinical side is starting to catch up, which is why they're integrating mindfulness. A lot of the answers for anxiety lies in spiritual work, meaning meditation, where one actually transcends what the sadhus and the gurus and what they would say is, oh, man has a monkey mind. Man has to get his mind off the hamster wheel of constant rumination and thought. But it is a practice that takes time to cultivate. We've been raised in a society that conditions us to speak prayers as opposed to listen to them. Do you see? Meditation is more about hearing the word of God as opposed to Western ideation of supplication is talking to God. Do you see? Does that make sense? And I'm not saying either one is wrong, one is better. What I'm saying is there has to be this integration of stillness. And stillness is a type of internal quietude where you're not asking, you're not searching, you're not looking, do you see? You're just accepting, you are quiet internally. Stay with me. When we come forward, we going back to Houston, Texas. My niece is cooking. Sit your ass down and hush side of the game. Right.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
And in a review of things you should know with PIO News, a judge has reinstated President Trump's federal employee buyout plan, ruling unions lack legal standing to block it. Now, the buyout offer is back on the table for roughly 2 million federal workers. Former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. is again seeking a presidential pardon after Trump pardoned Rod Blagojevich. Speaking in Chicago, he also advocated for others who served his time. Jackson, who was last resigned in 2012 and served 30 years.
Woo! Hey. God damn it, Bobby. There we go. All righty. Hey, is Attila going to be the only person to call in? We're an hour in. You guys just said, fuck it. We're going to abandon all calls. After being number one in calls for the last 2.5 years, we just going to stop calling altogether. That's what we doing. Did we have like a fucking meeting where we said, nah, we just gonna stop calling. Is that what we doing? We need calls. Hey, John Gilbert, you call in a lot. I'm not talking to you. We love John Gilbert's calls. Come on, man.
If your relationship is in trouble, I'm the dude to call. Has your
Nope.
soulmate become your cellmate? Does
Nope.
love still exist? What are your
You didn't get no grace yesterday
fantasies and fetishes?
because you created that topic.
I'm dating a fat person. Are they worth the wait? Trust me, this gonna be crazy.
Come on, niece. I got different standards for you.
It's a very heated topic. Oh, is that right? Mama's baby, daddy's maybe.
I just have so many questions I want to
She
ask.
said, hey, I didn't get no grace.
Betrayal has been committed. Hit you with the bad How does he maintain his humposity?
He likes it when it pinches my neck.
Why can't you open up, brother?
I'm a karate man. Karate man rules on the inside. They don't show
Okay. Okay.
How do you write one so well?
So Williams, reason and accountability. The voice of reason.
Hey guys, I'm Heidi Preeb. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. Today on this channel, we're talking about a topic that I am very excited about. And this is the topic of how to build self-trust. I believe that self-trust is at the absolute core of any sort of healing work. Until we believe that we can trust ourselves to do what we said we would do and to show up for ourselves in a way that is going to make our lives healthier, happier, more expansive, it's going to be really difficult to get any hard self-work done. And so I believe that fostering self-trust needs to be a foundational piece of the attachment healing process. But it can also be a kind of intimidating thing to think about for those of us who have spent a lot of our lives self-abandoning. So if you don't know what I mean when I use that term, I did film a video all about the term self-abandonment. I will link it in the description of this video, and you can go there to check out whether that term applies to you. But most of us who did not grow up securely attached have somewhat of a pattern of self-abandoning in different circumstances, and therefore not being able to trust ourselves to follow through on exactly what it is that we want to do with our lives. In this video, we're going to talk about how to start working towards that follow-through and how to build yourself into a person over time who you can look up to, have respect for, and trust to do what you said you would do for yourself. And for whatever reason, it felt the most intuitive to me to present 5 kind of tools or strategies you could use, first in their inverse form. So we're going to talk about what makes it difficult to trust ourselves, and then we're going to talk about how to do the opposite of that thing. So rather than over-explaining what I mean by that, we'll just dive into number 1. So number 1, it is very hard to trust yourself if you are continuously making promises to yourself that you don't keep. So if you're the kind of person who is constantly making plans for the future that you get really excited about and then do not follow through on, or who is always telling yourself, tomorrow I'm going to start operating differently, what you are doing is continuously breaking the trust of your inner child, right? There's a very young, very innocent part of you that gets really excited every time you make these big plans for your future. And that part of yourself is getting continuously let down every time you get emotionally invested in a plan and then don't follow through on it. Now, there are myriad reasons why someone might do this. Sometimes what we're doing when we make grandiose plans and then fail to follow through on them is that we're actually using the idea of that fantasy future as a means of self-regulating through a difficult moment. So I think that a lot of the time when people have this sense of, I just lack follow-through, what's actually going on is that they're using visions of a fantasy future which they never truly intended to work towards as a means of calming themselves down or avoiding some sort of pain in the moment. And that can get really confusing if you're always telling yourself, I'm going to work towards this goal or that goal, and then you're never actually taking action on it. And in this case, it can be helpful to just recognize those were never necessarily plans to begin with. Just like a child whose trust you have continuously broken, you need to have an action plan for winning your own self-trust back. And in order to win your self-trust back, you have to start treating the relationship you have with your inner child the way you would treat a relationship with someone else. Unless you're also very flaky with other people, but you get what I'm saying. Sometimes, when we make a plan with someone else, we want to do that plan in the moment, and then when it gets closer to, we don't want to do it anymore. But we still show up because we said we would. And we want other people to think of us as trustworthy and as people who do what they said they would do, because then those people want to form closer relationships with us. And the same is true of ourselves. Sometimes we make a plan, and as we get closer to that plan, we don't want to do it anymore. But if we care about the relationship we have with ourselves, we need to be following through on the plans that we made with the young, innocent.
Listen, you scared to not do what you say you're going to do, that you changed your mind about because of fear of abandonment. Oh, I don't want this person upset. I can't change my mind. I already agreed to it. They might label me as inconsistent, right? Listen, broken people need consistency. Oh, God, Zoe's crazy. Yep. Fear, I'm trying to tell you, man, fear dictates this whole thing. It dominates everything. I need somebody to be consistent. Why? Because someone in the beginning wasn't. So if I frame it that way, now people mad. Why? Because something happened early in childhood where you felt like one of your primary caregivers inconsistent. So now consistency is a relationship expectation. See, we'd rather have the expectation than heal it. Well, as long as somebody else conforms to this expectation, I'm okay with it. Because this is what I need. This is who I am. No. Why not question the origin of the expectation? Right? You had an inconsistent parent, so your partner has to be consistent in order to make up the slack? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Right? You can't be obedient while at the same time being paranoid. Love, unconditional love, true love is a fearless place. And many of us have learned to survive in a fearful place. Where there is fear, there will be control, right? The desire to control, the desire to manipulate, right? Whether it's fear of something happening over again in the past or fear that it might happen again, or do you see? Breaking the chains. How unchecked fear sabotages self-discipline and spiritual growth. What is the true cost of allowing fear to dictate our actions in both personal, right, intrapersonal, and interpersonal relationships? Right? Oh, we got heavy stuff going on. We got our sister on the line, my niece, Attila from Houston, Texas. Attila, you were making a point before we came forward. Please continue, young lady. Well, then let me position this to you, because we got in another caller and they requested to be online with you. No, wait. Before you say okay, I gotta be fully transparent, because I don't want you to be blindsided. Do you want to know who it is? Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Now Andy is like, who is it? Andy, boy, Andy, Andy said, who is it then?
Andy, look, Andy, let me tell you something. If I want to know what's going on at KBLA, you know who I'm gonna ask? I'm gonna ask Andy because Andy will have all the tea.
Andy said, "Who is it then?"
Low key do though.
He said, "I low key do though." All right, let's do it. She said, "Okay." Nazarene X from Atlanta, Georgia, has joined the conversation with myself and Attila from Houston, Texas. Nazarene, what are your thoughts on tonight's topic, my friend?
I believe that being willing to consolidate all of the wiggle room is important when we're talking about how our imaginations may run wild with us. So, what I heard Attila speaking to earlier, even the proverbial notion of the devil, right? I like to just drill down on that. Because, yeah, it's like, you could be your own devil. Yet when two people coming together, the step back, a larger scope of it is, in my opinion, just when you bring your own lens or definitions into unison with someone, that's how I like to drop it on the table. I'm like, look, if it ain't but one devil and we coming together, the way my life works is that, well, that devil is only here by permission of God a dip. And what you were speaking to earlier, like, it's ill because when you frame those questions a certain way, when they be like, yeah, when you put it this way, somebody gonna get mad. It's because that quote unquote voice is the quote unquote inner devil, which is nothing but a free lick or a free ride into your higher greatness, if you will. I do understand that's where, you get your shadows, or the other times it's like you might have many demons, but it ain't but one quote unquote devil. If we just gonna rock with that type of train of thought. So it's like you give people space to operate within their own world or imagination reality, but I believe that's what's important in terms of finding alignment, clarity within yourself, and that through line that you can unite with and walk with one another or with a partner.
So wait,
like
let me take what you're saying, because many people, hey man, don't, pathologize. You're your own devil, right? Because people will see it in a negative connotation. They'll see it in a, and I'm saying, no, we're here to normalize it. I'm here to normalize you being your own devil. Do you see what I'm saying? They say, no, don't pathologize, pathologize means to view or characterize something or someone as medically or psychologically abnormal. No, everybody is their own devil, and they trying to date an angel. They're looking, do you see what I'm saying? They are looking for a savior from themselves. They want to be exorcised, and they think it's coming from the outside. The exorcism must happen internally. You're your own demon, and you're your own exorcist. And all your partner is going to do is mirror it all back to you. Attila, your thoughts?
I mean, I completely agree. Like, I would even draw it back to the word. I'm glad I poured me some Pinot, child. I would draw it back to the word. Because even Christ himself said, none is good. Only God is good.
Ooh, come on, Jesus. Hold it up,
we think we're good people.
Come on.
We forget this is Jesus we're talking about, Christ.
Right.
Yahusha. He called a woman a dog.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, in the book of Matthew. In the book of Matthew, come on. Yeah, in the book of Matthew. The girl came to him and said, hey, can you heal my daughter? She is sick. He said, listen, I'm only sent to the lost tribe of the house of Israel only, just them. She said, true, but don't the dogs eat The crumbs that fall from their master's table. He said, you know what, you're right. As a matter of fact, lady, your daughter is healed as you will. That's what he said.
As you will, right?
Come
I
on.
believe.
Keep going to bring the church in here, Attila.
I mean, the last thing I'm gonna say before I let y'all go back is, I think when we're talking, because I saw another thing in the chat as well about righteousness, right? I think righteousness and piety a lot of times are confused, right? So in order to acknowledge or to become pious, to move into this elevated state, you first have to debase yourself, to acknowledge that you're really nothing and everything all at the same time. I say all that to say, by saying that you are your own devil, you're not necessarily saying that you are the devil. You're not evil's incarnate, but you recognize the aspects of evil that are reflected within you. Hence yesterday's topic. That woman was a whole sociopath, laying the game out flat. And I'm listening to it, thinking to myself, like, how many times have I seen that? How many times have I done that? Would I call myself a sociopath? No.
Right.
But I had to be honest to be like, no, I do have some of those characteristics. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. So many people think, and I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna hold you two over, and we're gonna come forward. You guys are gonna answer. But so many people think that getting what you want is a blessing. Yeah. So many people think that God is actually blessing you when you are getting what you want. Nobody questions, is my desire for these things short-sighted?
Oh.
Do you see? See, if I'm wounded and I'm manipulative, and instead of me doing the inner work, I manipulate myself into a situation that is conducive to feeding my wounds for as long as possible. Many people think, hey, that's a good thing. And in their mind, they think, man, I'm doing well. God is favoring me. No, God is setting you up. When we come forward, we're going to get Attila and Nazarene X's thought on that. Are y'all ready for that? Can y'all process what I just said? Attila, yo, I need y'all to build on that. Naz, you got to build on that. By getting what you want, is God setting you up? Is God the op? Is God the op? God is your op. Do you hear it? Op. Come on, that's what I'm looking for. Man, if you don't cook. No, God ain't the op. Look at Nzinga. Get in here. Zingy, baby. Come on, Zinga. Zingy, baby. God gonna let you touch that stove. Come on, Zingy. Hey, we lit tonight. This shit fire. God is a friendly op. Kind of like a training partner. Come on. Y'all thinking. That's what I'm on. Everybody with these goofy ass relationship conversations. They don't understand what this shit really is, man. 30 seconds. Hey, what we got next? Is it my peoples? Ah! Let me see. Hey, we lit tonight. Ooh. We have come. We have come. We have come. We are revolutionists for justice. Prejudice. They call us battlers. Systematic radicals with the hand in the candy dish to defend government, taste, dissent. Virtuous prankster, overtime gangster, daytime shooter, nighttime shakester. Colors blacker than his pink. See me at the crossroad, pimp strut. But never been out. We carry on. So here we go again. Another brother verse.
So some of these processes that you describe feel like effort, and the effort doesn't feel good.
But you see, it always takes effort, and let's talk about why it takes effort, and let's just tell it like it is. Focus is effort because law of attraction will hold you to your dominant vibration. So if I've been beating the drum of I don't have enough money, and I've been noticing evidence of not having enough money, and in my noticing that I don't have enough money, I activate a vibration so it keeps me in that position of not having enough money, then to think about having more money is not as easy as noticing that I don't have enough money. It takes effort to imagine beyond what is. That's really what we're talking about. It's easy. It's like it's easy to turn on the television and watch what they're offering. It's more difficult to think your own thought. It's easy to just hear what someone's saying to you. It's more difficult to guide the conversation in a more positive direction. It's easy to observe. It's more difficult to focus. And yet, there is so much more reward in focusing than there is in just observing. So most people have trained themselves. You have patterns of thought about money. You have patterns of thought about your body. You have patterns of thought about teachers. You have patterns of thought about government. You have patterns of thought about ecology. You have patterns of thought about medicine. You have patterns of thought about animals. You have patterns of thought about cats. You have patterns of thoughts about dogs. Some of you like dogs and don't like cats. Some of you like cats and don't like dogs. You have patterns of thoughts about all kinds of things. A pattern of thought just meaning a thought that you thought, maybe your mother thought it and she thought it and spoke it, and then you thought it and listened, and then it doesn't matter where the thought got started, but you've got an active vibration about a lot of different subjects. So, let's say your active vibration about the subject of something that you want improvement in, let's say your active thought is that we are in the middle of a financial crisis. And let's say that your active thought is that costs are going up and incomes are going down and the government is trying to fix it, but there are so many moving parts that even the best of them are in a state of confusion. And so that's your active thought that you've talked about.
Abraham Hicks, Esther, And I hear what she's trying to say. What she's basically saying is, and when she uses the word vibration, I'll say every thought has its own gravity. Every pattern has its own gravity, right? This attachment that I've talked about as being rooted in suffering, attachment has a gravity. But liberation is like what rockets need in order to leave, right, orbit. It's called escape velocity. You have to build up internally the escape velocity, right, to escape the gravity of the patterns that you modeled in childhood. When you can reach escape velocity, you can get outside of your known. That's where the fear lives. If you were raised in a fearful environment, fear is part of your DNA. It's ingrained in your body, in your mind, in your thought process, in your dreams, in your hopes, in your relationship expectations. But you have to cultivate a psychological escape velocity in order to become the real, authentic, true you. And it's a difficult thing to do. We got callers on the line and they're on jointly. I asked them a question about getting something. Do you guys have your thought together on this? Attila and Nazarene. Attila is Houston, Texas. Nazarene X is Atlanta, Georgia. Do you guys have your thought together on this? We're going to start with Attila, ladies first, and then we're going to run to Nazarene.
You might have to ask me the question again because you know how I get.
Do you remember the question, Nazarene?
Yeah, I do.
All right, I'm gonna go with you first. Go ahead, Naz.
I believe it's all on how you look at it. It's just, I believe what you're speaking to is that what you think you want and what you need. So sometimes it's like you'll be given permission to fail, and that's still a blessing, right? So sometimes if you get what you want from a more deep, free space or what have you, from those old patterns or old habits, I believe that that's an echo and reflector, like a residual product of just being rested in peace and clarity in the kingdom and all these other things, self-awareness.
Wait. Because you're cooking, but we're right up against it. Because I want you to continue cooking. Don't. We're going to go back to Nazarene. He's cooking. What I'm trying to give you guys is exactly what was given to Neo by the Oracle. Because he didn't know who he was. He didn't know he was the one. You know what she said? She said, listen, Morpheus, you can't tell Morpheus nothing. He believes that you're the one. And he's going to prove it. Because in a minute, he's going to give himself up for you. He's going to die. And you're going to have to choose. Sometimes God will give you what you think you want. And you think because you got it that you're being blessed. But sometimes in order to get it, you got to make a sacrifice for it. Oh, you want this? Then give up that. When we come forward, we're going to probe deeper.
In a big report, things you should know, FBI News. A judge has reinstated President Trump's federal
Yeah.
Now, the buyout offer is backing approval for roughly 2 million federal workers.
That is always not sometimes. Come on.
Speaking in Chicago, he also advocated for others who served their time. Jackson, who was black, resigned in 2012 and served 30 months for campaign fraud. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is scheduled to meet with Trump's border guard Thursday after federal charges against him were dismissed. His lawyer denies before criticizing Biden but supporting Kamala Harris. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
Alarm Safe 811 starts with you. Always call 811 and wait for any underground lines to be marked.
Always keep safety in the back of your mind. Just stay humble. For more information, go to farmsafe811.org. What you want to do, huh?
KBLA Talk 1580 is thrilled to share that we've been named as the semifinalists for the coveted American Climate Leadership Awards, honoring our climate.
Attila, you remember the question now.
To announce year 2 of our Climate Justice Crusade. This year's $2 million 12-month campaign will link and combat the relationship between climate change and poor health.
Attila, do you remember the question?
And the poor. Climate inequities have taken a toll with multiple health triggers in the Black community. Big voice on these wildfires. Our work to ensure climate justice and climate equity continues. In the coming weeks and months, you'll be hearing a lot more about our 2025 climate campaign. To learn more about our plans for this year and the companies and organizations supporting us.
Hey, I would like for you guys to go to my Cash App. In Constantine, when the devil came calling, Constantine was ready to give in, but his sacrifice saved him one more time. Yes, that's one of my favorite movies. Every time that shit on, I just be like, I gotta watch it. Every time that comes on. Don't forget, go to my Cash App, $ Zoe What Netter, or hit the super chat. Show your love, $ down at the bottom of the chat. Let me see if there's anybody to shout out. And no. And no. Nobody. Hey, we got a big storm coming tomorrow and Friday. I hope them mountains hold up. Them real mountains. We gonna get boulders. We gonna get everything. No, it ain't good. A real storm is not good. We're gonna have some cleaner air. Look, 592 CO2. So the air has been getting, cleansed a little bit. But tomorrow, they say it's gonna rain, like rain. And LA, it don't rain like that. But they like, no, this is rain. So after them fresh fires, that mud gonna be like, It was. I remember it was in the 1300s a couple weeks ago. So now it's at 554. It's going down because it's raining now. Slip and Slide Records. No, it's been crazy. No, Cali weather it's wonderful. When it's good, it's the best in the world. When it's good, it's the best in the world. Normally, we 70-some degrees all year long. Ocean breeze. Normally, it's just wonderful. But a fire, fuck around and find out. Fucking brush fire like we had. Wild ass firestorm. What the fuck? We ain't got that humidity shit. None of that.
Brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
Telling you to hear it. Since I go to the show, bummers the sound. I made a year ago. You want to know? Guess I'm just a radical, not a sabbatical, just to make it critical. Panther power on the owl from the rebel to you. Radio. Suckers never play me on the mix. They just okay me now, known and grown. My calling card. Flavor, a rebel, it's all mine. All my time, kick it. Terminator X.
We repeat what we don't repair. You will usually find yourself stuck at a point where the universe brings you to take a decision. Go back and think today. We usually blame the universe on bringing us back to the same situation. But what we fail to realize is that we're not making a change. A pattern or a cycle can only be broken when you choose differently. So how do you break free from this? Today, if you are stuck in a particular pattern, which is called a karmic cycle usually, go back and think that where is it that you were stuck and what did you not choose to change? It can be attachment, it can be leaving something behind, it can be surrendering, it can be anything. Make that change in yourself and you will see that you will be able to break free from that pattern, from that cycle, and your life is going to change.
Just like Neo in the Matrix. He didn't believe that he could be free from the Matrix. And more importantly, he didn't believe that he could be the metaphorical Christ of the movie. That was too much freedom. He had to be put in it. Sometimes God gives you what your wounds want. Do you understand? Hey, Neo, yeah, Morpheus loves you and he believes in you. And he'll do anything. And you're gonna have to choose your life or his. Hey, don't do that. I don't believe I'm the one. Right? So he had to be put in a situation to realize that for most people, what we want is a demand from an unintegrated wound. Do you see? And sometimes you got to get it to realize that you're just repeating a pattern. How many times has somebody come into your life that could elevate your spirits to heights unknown? But because they carry that energy with them and they demand you elevate to a higher level, and I'm not saying through force, that it causes you to recoil and go back to your safety, even if it's a dirty, toxic, mundane situation. It's your known. It's what you know. How many times have you given up on people that really could change your life if you allowed yourself to embrace the change? We got callers on the line. Attila, Nazarene X, your thoughts?
Hey, yo. I think it was really. Oh, yeah, my bad. Man, you got me a conversation, man.
What happened?
You got it. Nah. She the Oracle over here. Go ahead, Oracle. No, that's you read my mind, bro.
Well, go ahead, y'all so cute together. Oh, I love it. Come on. Okay, Attila, give me your thoughts on what is being said here.
I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. I see multiple sides to this. So in terms of when we're talking about the Most High, to me, he's so high up there we can't even really comprehend that level of love, right? Because that also includes your free will. Like we're talking about the Most High as if we're like marionettes that he's just like manhandling around. Like I see it more so along the lines of like a loving parent. And even you described this too when you were talking about how parents transition as their children age, transition in the way that they teach their children. So it goes from direct direction to more of a guidance, right?
Right.
So I kind of see the Most High in that same way. It's like, all right, if that's what you want to do. Like, you have free will to do that, but we love free will when it doesn't include accountability, right?
Ooh, keep going. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like some of this stuff, I feel like we like to be like, where was God? Or why didn't this? Or whatever. Like, we put a lot of the onus on the Most High, or even the devil. You know, people say you give the devil too much credit. I think what they're really saying is, again, you are your own issue. You're your own demon. So, and it sounds so crass. It sounds really, really crass. But I just honestly feel as though we just have to learn how to look at ourselves, and that's it.
All right. Nazarene, your final thought on it?
Squeeze. In the grand scheme of things, and this is why I'm banging on that proverbial architect that really don't know what he's talking about, but he got a part to play too, trying to convince you that the pattern is all you gonna actually end up playing out. I believe it's dope how Morpheus' character is an example of how someone else's so-called delusion can even inspire you to realize your most full truth. Or again, just in stride as the journey continues, like consistently Neo was faced with a choice. Even to the point where, in witnessing sacrifice of his team or the cause, like he was convinced. And I believe what shifted in that original concept, first of all, shout out to Sophia Stewart, original author. I just like the part where Neo outstretched his arm and said no.
Yeah.
Right? At some point, you are the architect of your own reality. And from there, all the agents, it is what it is. Yeah.
Thank you for our one and only Cash App. Thank you, John Gilbreth. Thank you. That might be somebody calling. But I got it on Do Not Disturb.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe.
60 seconds. I want to thank everybody for supporting tonight, for hitting the like button, for sharing. This is a cool tribe. People called in. I love it. Zoe put us on timeout. What happened? I don't know what's going on. You all right too, Zoe. Y'all all my peoples, man. Dead ass.
It's been a long time, first of all, without a strong rhyme and step two. Think of how many week shows you slept through. Time's up, I'm sorry I kept you thinking of this. You keep repeating your mess. The vibe from the microphone solo with. So you sit by the radio and on the dial soon. As you hear it, pump up the volume. Dance with the speaker till you hear it blow. Then plug in a headphone, cause here it goes. It's a four-letter word when it's heard to control your body to dance. So, that takes a tempo like a red alert.
Wait. Hold on. See, that's the one everybody know. You know the one they don't know from Eric B. and Rakim? The Rhyme Goes On. From that same album. Like people don't understand the legendary power of Eric B. and Rakim. They don't understand. It's Black History Month.
Knowledge don't begin until I finish this song, cause the rhyme gets rougher as the rhyme goes on. Sweat is the step about to get higher, but should you just listen to the man on the mic? If this is clean, this will leave a hop to tell. If it's meant to be hip hop, if you're not mentally as well. 32 on the rhyme that I just poured into the mic, so tonight you won't be so bored. If you just keep kicking, listen to the mix and make you'll sing to the rhyme like quicksand. Hold and control you till I leave you all deeper in the style. It's hard to breathe. The only time I stop is when somebody drop it, then bring it to the front, cause my rhyme's the oxygen. Wave your hand when you're ready, I'll send you into your favorite dance, but let the rhyme continue. It's so on and I'm
Hey man, my playlist is my co-host, man. Woo!
Hi, I'm Anna Runkle, also known as the Crappy Childhood Fairy. And for many of us who grew up with abuse or neglect during childhood, there's this steep learning curve around perception. And by that I mean being able to discern what's true, what's not true, what's my responsibility, and what's not my fault, when I'm in danger, and when maybe I'm just being paranoid. It's common for parents to tell their kids, no, your dad's not drunk, or no, your mom's not acting crazy, or no, no one hit anybody. That was just a dish rack falling off the kitchen counter. And you wanted to believe this, but your whole nervous system was just screaming that you were in danger. And so it's this kind of combination of a blank mind and a freaked out body that puts you in a disconnect. And like all kids, you wanted to get some adult help to get a read on the situation. Like, what is this feeling? Is it really okay? Can the neighbors hear what's going on? Is it possible they're calling the cops on us? Am I supposed to just turn this feeling off? And you know, there are 100 ways that this can happen to you, not necessarily with violence or drunkenness, but with any of the weird, crazy, shameful dynamics a family can have. So the point is, if adults lied about the nature of what was going on, saying it was good and normal when everything in you said it was not good and not normal, this scrambles our powers of perception. We end up teaching ourselves to override our good sense because if it feels dangerous, we think it's probably just us. If we feel hurt, maybe we're just being oversensitive. If we feel ashamed, it's probably because we did something. And so you learn that your perceptions can't be trusted. And over time, you find yourself making these huge irrational mistakes where the red flags were all over the place, but as you were taught, you ignored those signs. You ignored the fact that the new guy you're dating maybe is a little bit controlling, or ignored the vague language a boss used around what you would get paid, or you ignored a gut feeling that you shouldn't walk alone to your car at night. Or sometimes we lose our perception around positive things. We feel just a little bit nervous about a new opportunity, but we confuse that with a gut feeling that there's something wrong with it and we don't show up. Or we offend people by acting suspicious, or we become afraid to go out anywhere, even out of the house. That is a misperception, and it can get where you think isolation is safety, and sadness is, nausea, and exhaustion is hunger, and hunger is depression, and you don't even know what's going on inside. And then come the crossed wires around what to do with your feelings. When I was younger and I was interested in a guy, I'd act mean to him. And at the hair cutter, instead of asking for what I wanted, I'd turn into a silent stone right there in the chair, like afraid that if I asked for what I wanted, it would come out as aggressive. And then I worried that the hair cutter would take it out on me by messing up my hair on purpose. It's crazy, right? But I was scared of people and how they saw me. And eventually, I did reteach myself to perceive reality, which is crucial to having any control in your life. So if you struggle with accurate perception, you might want to hear how I did this. First, I took stock as best I could of the areas where my thinking was often distorted. I used to have a really hard time, for example, in a conflict with someone, figuring out what was actually my fault and what was theirs. And this is challenging for everyone, but for people with childhood PTSD, this is a really common trouble spot. I used to think,
Man, my crappy childhood. She be killing. But she reminds me she reminds me of Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti says you can't see clearly through the lens of an unindividuated wound, a wound that has not been healed. You can't see through a wounded psychological lens. That lens, that wound will actually contaminate everything you see. Thomas Campbell's work, you guys should go get his book, My Big Toe, suggests that reality is an interconnected field of consciousness where our beliefs and expectations actively shape our experience. From this perspective, if we are trapped in a mindset that sees any departure from the known as a catastrophe, we are likely to remain in a reactive state that perpetuates stress and inhibits genuine connection. Similarly, Krishnamurti's teachings in Freedom from the Known encourages us to let go of our conditioned need for security. He urges that true freedom arises when we dissolve the rigid structures of expectations and learn to engage with life as it unfolds in the moment. In that state, unpredictability is not met with dread, but with openness and curiosity, a hallmark of what might be called unconditional freedom. Now, for me, unconditional freedom is just it's a euphemism for the word unconditional love. And this is why our love is conditioned. It's because we're hurt. And when we got hurt, we created coping mechanisms and conditions in order to survive. You cannot love unconditionally if you're in survival mode. And most people are, even if they're getting what they want through manipulation. Are you hearing me? Unconditional freedom, then, is not simply the absence of external constraints, but a state of consciousness characterized by a non-toxic, unburdened awareness. It emerges when we liberate ourselves from the fear-based attachments that tie us to a fixed notion of comfort and predictability. Rather than clinging to an illusory state of safety, we become more resilient and adaptive, able to see uncertainty as an opportunity for growth rather than a threat. Thus, while the imagined loss of predictability can catalyze toxic internal dynamics, unconditional freedom represents an aspirational state, a mode of being in which our unconscious remains untouched by fear, allowing us to embrace the fluid, ever-changing nature of existence. Thomas Campbell, fear is not an enemy to be conquered by a signal from your consciousness, an invitation to expand your understanding and evolve beyond the limits of conditioned survival. Most of us are in that state when it comes to our interpersonal relationships. The quality of your consciousness determines the quality of your reality. Fear lowers your energy state and restricts your creative capacity. Love and curiosity set you free. Thomas Campbell, my big toe. Listen, you don't have to agree. It's not a prerequisite that you do. I'm here to question, and I want you to question. I started the conversations. It's really up to you to finish them. I'm the voice of reason. I'll be back here tomorrow, which is my Friday, with another slapper. I hope you guys appreciate my Black History Month hip hop conscious from the late 80s, early 90s. What else we got to take us out? I hope y'all enjoyed it. Shit was lit. Shan. Love y'all. Your brother's out. Deuces.